show you the working apparatus of the bedbug here. And the feeding adult bedbug shows how the stylus go in, but the other part of the mouth part bends out of the way. And some plump bedbugs mating again. They're mating on my hand here, but they decided to eat instead. And here's a few bedbugs on my hand. This is a birthmark I have, so it's not from bedbugs. You'll notice I have little white grazed areas from bedbug feeding. That lasts about an hour and then totally disappears. At least on my hand, you see here too, those white areas. And watch the bedbug in the middle. After a few seconds, it's now red because it's taken out blood. These are bedbugs feeding on my hand. I just had a little jar I put on. These are young bedbugs, and these are older nymphs on my hand. And you also notice shed skins here. And for the red areas, and this is a test. This was from BBC filming I did last week, and it was for diseases that occurred from the 1830s and 1950s. But if you work in the school system, you'll realize that these insects here are actually human lice. This one, this one, this one, this one. And the next shot I'll show you, I labeled it. So here, C is for Cimex, for bedbugs. P is for pediculus, for head louse or body louse. These happen to be body lice. But they're clean. They were from a lab colony, so it's all right that I fed them. There's no diseases being produced. And here's a bedbug feeding. This is the first instar nymph, which is empty on the left and plumper as it goes along feeding. And a front view of it shows you how plump it is when it's done. So this is about a millimeter and a half now. Health issues, there are really no diseases, even though if a bedbug is feeding on someone who has something, yes, they'll have the organisms in their body, but they don't seem to replicate inside the bedbug's body, and they're not transferred to when it feeds again. So that's lucky for us. Let's see. There are different bedbug bites people, show, and I wanted to show you what different bite reactions look like. And the reason this woman bitten on this side of her body only could very well be that she's sleeping on one side, and the bedclothes and the sheets and comforter and such are up against one side of her in a little bit of a mound. Could be like this, could be like this. And the bedbugs don't have to get on you to feed. They'll hold on and just stick their mouth parts into you and never even step foot on you, and then back off when they're done. So these are different reactions people have gotten to bedbug bites. So for physicians, when I speak to them, I show them that you can't just use a textbook bite reaction as a typical bedbug bite, because you'll miss all the bites. And these bites can be itchy, not itchy, fluid-filled, not fluid-filled. They can get secondarily infected if you scratch them all. These are some typical bite, maybe what people know about. This was a friend of mine who was on a cruise and she had bites. And she actually told, a lot of people actually have these. And the cruise company said these were just sand flea bites because you were on, knowing full well they were bedbugs, that you were on an island and that's where you picked up the sand fleas. But that's not so. This is a friend of mine. She had bedbug bites on her arm, but these are somewhat healed. This is some bites on my hand. And this is what happens within a few days, or maybe 6 hours or so after my initial bites. It just looks like this. And then they disappear in a few days. Or like this, multiple bites on my hand. So my bites aren't typical either. And maybe a physician may not realize this is a bedbug bite. Or here. Some close-ups of those bites. This, I was feeding bedbugs in a jar, and I moved the jar around so much they kept feeding and refeeding. So that caused a larger blood flow under the skin, as you can see here, and it also caused a little fluid-filled areas in those places. But if you look at my arm now, you'd never know if there was a bedbug, feeding at all going on there, and it's scabbed over. This is a woman from the ship. These were bites on her legs. And this here is that girl who had bites on her arms. This is how it looks on her legs. And this person raises bed bugs for testing dogs, so he had these large areas on his legs because he had a large vial on there too, feeding a lot at one time. And the bed bug did defecate on me, and I did take it off with a paper, and then I tested it with a investigative test, which is using phenolphthalein and hydrogen peroxide. And of course, it turns pink, because that's what it's supposed to do when it's positive for blood. And here, feeding them on my arm,